Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see, I'm doing another run through of Four Against Darkness. I'm going to do a gameplay video, and the reason being is that the last video that I actually ran through, I didn't quite honestly read carefully enough, and I was playing against my character group a little bit too severely, in that I was treating monster attacks against them the same as their attacks are against monsters. And player characters actually get an active defensive role. And so there was also the incoming damage on player characters is much more limited. So when there's a successful hit against them, they only take 1 point of damage per hit, rather than it being based on the level of the attacker on them. Sometimes a monster, particularly bosses, can deal 2 points of damage, but I was, utilizing the level as the amount of damage that would be received, subtracting from that the armor, or the defensive value of the character. So completely wrong, and that's what happens when you're running through a game for the first time. You kind of miss a few lines here and there, and it really did change the aspect of the outcome. So the you know character suffered a full group wipe. Not that they would have probably defeated that particular enemy anyhow. It just would have taken a much longer time for it to have turned out that way. The other thing that I'm going to do for this adventure is, you can see I've actually named it. I want him alive. And the reason being is that the last time I ran through, I just went and just did a dungeon crawl. No real set objective. But the game does provide for a quest table for you to roll on. And so when I rolled it, you could have either bring me his head, which is obviously a kill mission. You could have bring me gold, which is a collect treasure mission. I want him alive, which is the one that I actually rolled, which means that instead of killing the main boss in the dungeon, I have to attempt to subdue him, and bring him in. There's bring me that, which is a magic items collection quest. Let peace be your way means to complete the quest. The party must complete at least 3 encounters in the adventure in a non-violent way. So that's kind of an interesting twist. And then finally, slay all the monsters, which is basically, your murder hobo scenario. So I developed a whole new group of four characters, and changed up a little bit what I was going to do with them. So I'm going to just bring them up on the screen here. I apologize for the quality of the screen resolution. The camera that I use for my desktop isn't, ideal, but it'll be good enough for you to see when I'm doing the map. Actually, it'll be, really quite close. But to see the actual character sheets, it's not, not the greatest. That's, one of my things on my presence list for the holiday season is to get a high quality document camera. So shifting over, I changed, and like I said, it's a little bit blurry, but so I'm going with a dwarf instead of a fighter. And a dwarf has some different advantages and everything that I thought would be a little bit more conducive to surviving through an adventure. And dwarves get additional pluses if they're using two-handed weapons. They get They get additional pluses if they're attacking goblins. They have additional pluses for defense against trolls, ogres, and giants. So in case any of those turn up, so just a little bit more versatile than than a warrior. I also went with a barbarian, and the barbarian has the ability to use a rage attack. You know, my barbarian is using a light weapon, a shield, and a light armor, shield, and sword. So they have a lot of life. So you can see here, probably see here, they have an 8 life at first level. So they do have the most hit points of many, and they get the +1 to attack. I went with with the shield. He's going with a shield combo, so his defensive rolls will still be at 2, and so between the life and the defense, he's still pretty hardy. I went with an elf instead of a magic user, so the elf will only have 1 sleep spell, but because I want the elf to have the ability to cast spells, stuck with the light armor, carries a sword, a bow, and a shield. Once she casts the spell, then she can arm her shield. Prior to that, she can't fire off her spell while using a shield. So I'll hold off on actually using the spell, or shield based on the situation. But they likewise have a +1 to attack with with a one-handed weapon. They have +1 to magic spell, so she will get a +1 to her use of the sleep spell. And they have some protections. So when she has her light armor, always has a +1 to defense, and the shield will go up to +2. And then finally the cleric, which I think pretty much you have to have a cleric. And so my cleric is a +1 with his versus undead, a +2 if it's skeletal, creatures, and he carries a mace, and so that's where he gets the additional +2 to attack. And his overall armor or defensive roll is a 3. That's due to the heavy armor and the shield. So all 4 characters actually have the potential of hitting above a 6. So if they do encounter, if they do encounter a creature, a boss, or some other creature that is 5th or 6th level, they have overall a better chance of actually dealing any kind of damage, which is a difference from my last group. So the way the system works, if you're joining this for the first time, is that it primarily uses 2d6, and you need 2 different color d6. So my red will be my 10s, and my black will be my 1s. So we'll get this started, and I will shift this over and get my map ready. Now you generate the map as you go along, and you use a chart. I'll show you this chart. The chart is right here. So use a chart to determine what type of rooms are available, and then when it tells you, when you roll the room number, you use the chart here to show you which actual shape you're drawing for your for your dungeon. So it kind of unfolds as you're going through it. So that's one thing that I really like about this system. So I'm just going to just make sure that I get the bottom edge of this here as well, so you can see where I'm starting. Nope, still can't. All right. All right, now you'll see from the very basic, it's a little bit slanted. So I'm going to keep on messing with this until I get it perfect for you. Okay. Yeah, it's close enough. All right, so the first thing that I do is I have to roll for an entryway. And I'm going to roll a d6 for the entryway. I rolled a 5. I think I've had that one before. And you can see here, these are my entryways, and this is number 5. All right, so this is what I'm going to attempt to draw for my entryway. All right, so that's pretty much the entryway right there. Now I'm going to roll 2d6, and I'm going to check the randomizing chart and see what we actually end up with. So I can show you this here. So I'm going to roll 2d6, and that will tell me. Now this first entryway, I could say this is a corridor, so I'm going to see what's going on in that corridor right there. So I rolled a 5, and in that I'm going to roll a d6 on the special features table. So let's see what we have in special features. So I'm going to switch over and show you this chart. And here's the special features table. So now I'm going to roll and see what is in there. And I rolled a 3. So there's an armory. All right, so all characters can change their weapons if they want within the limits of the weapons allowed to the character type. For example, a warrior can, a warrior who is using a sword and a shield may discard and chase. So somewhere in here, there's going to be like an armory section. Kind of odd, but so that's going to be in this corridor here. So, oh, sorry, wrong thing. So I put the armory over there, and actually my characters are pretty satisfied with the weapons and everything that they have. So they're going to continue on forward and moving forward. And once we get to this intersection, all right, I'm going to have to determine, what is the next step. So if they're going to go forward, I have to determine what is going to be in that front thing. So I have to roll a d66. All right, so I rolled a 45. So when I get back to my chart now, and I'm going to look for a 45, and 45 is, wow. All right, so 45 is another cross, another cross space. So, and it's going to extend to all right. Once again in in another corridor. So I'm going to roll on the corridor chart, and now I rolled an 11. So an 11, I'm going to encounter a boss. All right, so kind of odd that the boss is right there in the middle of the hallway, but so now I go to the boss table. This might be a very quick adventure. Vermin table, minion table, hidden treasure table, boss table. So, now when I roll on the boss table, it's if I roll a 6 on this d6, the boss is going to be my final boss. Now, the last boss that I fought in the last adventure was a Chaos Lord, and he wiped out my characters. The one thing that I noticed with playing first level characters is that there's no scaling in this at all. So, you could have a group of first level characters run across, a level 6 boss, which is pretty severe, to be honest with you. And I was thinking of applying, a boss shouldn't be higher than, probably a +3, but we'll see how it turns out, and we'll run this through. This might be a very, very short adventure once again. So I'm going to roll. And I rolled a 3. So I'll going back to my table over here. No, keep on getting these things wrong. Oh, that's right. So A3 is an ogre, level 5, 6 life points. All right, so that's not too bad. So there's an ogre here, right in the center. And that ogre is level 5 with 6 hit points, or life points. Normal treasure. Each hit from an ogre inflicts 2 life points of damage. His reactions are a d6, 1 bribe for 30. My characters do not have 30 gold pieces left. A 2 to 3 is a fight, and a 5 or 6 is a fight to the death. That is only if you choose for your characters not to attack first. All right, and thus giving up initiative to the ogre. So the ogre is a level 5, so it's going to take a 5 to actually hit this ogre. But like I said, my characters, all have at least a plus, and so they can slowly, take this ogre down if necessary. And then characters deal additional damage for every pip above what was needed to. So if I have a character that rolls a 7, then the character will do 2 points of damage to this ogre. So there's another sheet here, and let me just get that. So this is a boss monster, and so a boss monster, I'm going to write Ogre. He's 5th level, and he has 6 life. So we'll see how this turns out. So now I bring up my characters. And so Tybor is a dwarf. He's leading, so this is my marching order. So I have Tybor, who is my dwarf. The barbarian is right next to him. Since they're kind of in a corridor, they'll only be able to attack, 2 at one time until they fan out into that crosswalk, if possible. Hopefully they can push them back. We might be able to get another attack on there. But Tybor as a dwarf is going to have some advantages against an ogre, I mean. So against an ogre, he gets an additional +1, all right, to his defensive value. So he has somewhat of an advantage against, the ogre, and he's going to have a total of a +2 to hit with his, a +1 for his for his being a fighter, and then a +1 for his battle axe. So he's using his two-handed axe. So he will have a +2. So he is going to attack the ogre. He needs to roll a 5 or better in order to hit. And he rolled a 5 because he has his +2. So he actually hit the ogre. And he hit the ogre for 1 life point. The barbarian is going to attack, and the barbarian is attacking with, he has just a +1 to his attack. Yep. So he missed. So they're encountering this ogre right now. They're trying to shift around and trying to push back the ogre. The ogre has taken a little bit of damage, and so now the ogre is going to attack. Now, this is where I messed up the last time. So the ogre attacking is going to have going to have to beat a 3 against the dwarf, and he's going to have to beat a 2 against the barbarian. So let's determine who the ogre is fighting first. The ogre is going to probably attack the dwarf first, being that the dwarf had hit him, and secondly, there's obviously some kind of animosity between dwarves and ogres. So the dwarf is the one making the roll, not the ogre. So the dwarf is going to roll his defensive roll. So he rolled a 2, which is not very good. So I'm going to show you in the rule book where this comes into play. It's a little bit too large, actually. If the character rolls higher than the monster's level, so I need to roll a 5 or better. If he rolls a natural and modified 6, then the character takes no damage. If his defense roll is equal to or lower than the monster's level, the character rolls a natural unmodified 1. The character takes 1 wound, marking off 1 wound. All right. But in this case, this ogre is going to do, because he is a boss, this ogre does 2 points of damage with a hit. And let's see. Each hit from an ogre inflicts 2 life damage. So he's going to hit the dwarf for 2 life point damages. All right, so once again they're shifting and moving about, and the dwarf is going to attack, followed by the barbarian. And at this point, I'm going to say that they have shifted, into that crossway a little bit better, and perhaps one of the other characters will be able to get a shot in. So they're going to kind of come this way and this way, try to turn that ogre around, and then that will allow the other 2 to potentially shift over. the dwarf is going to attack. And so this time he hit for a total of 7 points. All right, so he's going to do 2 additional damage to the, to the ogre. And so the ogre is going to be down to 3 hit points at this point, or life points at this point. So now the ogre has taken half his damage in, in life. All right, so the ogre is going to end up having to take a morale check, but let's see how the barbarian does with his attack. So he's going to get a +1. So he rolled a 7 as well. All right, so he's going to do an additional 2 points of damage. He needed a 5, he has a 6, +1 is 7. So he's going to do an additional 2 points of damage. So now this ogre is pretty darn hurt. And let's see what his reaction is. So when we check on reactions, so I do have I can go to this here, actually. Let's see, disarming. It's going to be in here somewhere. Very strange. When a boss loses more than half of its life points, its level drops by 1. So now it's it's at a 4. It must make a morale check. So the die roll, and if the result is 3 or less, the boss flees. If the roll is 4 or better, the boss continues to fight to the bitter end. So he is now fighting as a level 4, only has 1 life point left. Oh, he rolled a 4, so he's going to stay. He's fighting to the death. I'm going to get my elf in on this. And so while that fight was happening and the first 2 rounds, we're into the second round, the elf would move in, and the elf also carries a bow. And so the elf is going to take a shot. Now the elf will have a +1 to this attack. All right, but the elf missed. So the elf fires that round and missed. I'm going to say that the cleric can't quite get into, that, into that action. So now the ogre is going to attack the dwarf. It's still on the dwarf. And so the dwarf has to roll his defense. And once again, he rolled a 3, so it's still less than the ogre's, less than the ogre's level. And so the ogre is going to hit him, and the ogre is going to hit him for 2 points because he hits for 2 points. Now, here's an interesting thing with clerics. Clerics can cast a healing spell, all right, at any time during the combat round. So even if it's not their turn, they can heal. So the cleric is going to cast a heal on the dwarf, and he'll get a +1 to his spell, his heal. So he healed him by 3 points. So I'm going to mark off one of his heals. He used it, and he brought Tybar back to 5 hit points. So now the dwarf is going to attack again. He rolled a 1, he missed. The barbarian is going to attack. He rolled a 3 plus his 1. So remember, the level of the ogre, has now been dropped down to a level 4. So that actually is the minimum that he needs to hit. And the ogre only had 1 life point left, and so the ogre has been killed. So now we just defeated a boss, and but it wasn't the primary boss that my characters were actually searching for. So now we go back to the tables, and we'll go right here to boss table. So an ogre, 6 life points, normal treasure. Each hit from an ogre, so he has normal treasure. So we're going to go to the treasure chart and see So I'm going to go to the normal treasure chart, and we're going to roll a d6. And I rolled a 2, so he's going to have 2d6 gold. And I rolled a 10. So I get 10 gold. So 10 gold pieces collected. That will be distributed amongst the characters. When you have a dwarf in your party, dwarves are so greedy that they have to get at least 1 portion of the, of a gold, of gold loot. So they'll each get 2, and then the, the remainder will either stay with the party. Most likely the dwarf will argue for it himself. So now we're here. We just killed this ogre, and we need to decide. So party's going to continue, just keep on going straight in. So this time I rolled a 12. Let's see what room configuration that 12 gives us. So we are looking for a 12. All right. So the 12, it has a door here, and then it extends 3, and then another door here. So we have to check to see what's going on with the door. All right, so let's see. Oh, I just saw room contents. So we're in a corridor as well, but let's see what this first door, let's see what this first door is doing. Special table. I saw there is a special section on doors. I'm fairly certain it was actually near the beginning. With a lot more familiarity with the, you know, game, I will start getting these things, you know, more to memory. Plus, there's certain things that are just they're not in an order that I'm, you know, used to using. So, rotating, retracting, time limits. Come on, where's doors? That's the other problem with, you know, with a randomizer. It's you don't know what's coming up, so you don't really. Where the heck is there's secret doors? Locations, hidden locations. Traps, locked doors. You may roll a die for every door that appears in the room. On a roll of 1 to 2, that door is locked. All right, so I rolled a 3. So that door is locked. Roll a d6 for the level of the lock. Mark the door an L. All right, so the door is not locked. All right, so opening and bashing a door. Where is this under? Crushing and... It's not under crushing and slashing. I don't know where it actually is. It's like in such a weird spot. You know, it has nothing to do with the section above it or, well, traps. But I don't even see traps here. It's like in the middle of a section. But anywho. All right, so now I have to check to see what's in this corridor. All right, so I am going to roll on the other chart while I'm here. And it is a corridor on the other side. So I'm going to roll 2d6. I rolled a 2. I'm rolling on a treasure table. Cool. So a little extra treasure. There we go. And I rolled a 4. So there's a 1 gem worth 2d6 times 5 pieces. So 5 times 5, another 25. So 1 gem worth 25 gold pieces. That's going to be an interesting little thing. So 1 gem, 25 GP. Okay, and the next door beyond that, rolled a 5, so it is not locked. And now we check to see what this room is going to open up into. So now we're right here, and I'm going to roll my D66. I rolled a 41. Let's hope for a room. Too many corridors so far. So there is a room. So 41, you can see I'm going to create this here, and it is a room. So, and there's only one way out. It's going to come up 3 boxes, and then come over, and then it's going to come up 1. And there's a door here as well. So, the contents of a room. So we use this chart. And now we're on this side. We've been spending a lot of time on corridors. Now we're on rooms. And so I'm going to roll 2d6. So I rolled a 10. And a 10 is a weird monsters table. So I roll a d6 on the weird monsters table. And let's see, weird monsters table. Okay. And I rolled a 6. A band of invisible gremlins steal d6 plus 3 objects from the party. You must surrender objects from any of your characters in the order of preference: magic items, scrolls, potions, weapons, and gems. Coins and bundles of 10 each. If the gremlins steal all of your equipment, they will leave and thank you. They will leave you a thank you message that counts as a clue. The gremlins have no combat stats because it is impossible to fight them. Encountering them has no experience roll. So a band of steals 1 to d6 plus 3 objects from the party. It's going to begin with magic items, scrolls, potions, weapons. So really they're going to start with weapons. All right. Okay. D6 plus 3. So they're going to steal 5 weapons. I'm going to randomize which characters are having things stolen from them. So I have 4 characters here. So you normally don't use a D4, but I will use a D4 at this point. And I rolled a 3, so the elf is going to lose a weapon. He's holding his sword. He has his bow, and his shield on his back. So I'll say the bow or the shield. So they're going to steal his shield. So his shield is stolen. The next item, 2, is going to be from Ragnar. Now, he does not have a weapon that they can just steal off of him. He's holding his shield. He's holding his sword. So they're going to end up stealing his bandage. All right. That's a second item. From Tybor, he's holding his two-handed axe. He has a shield and a warhammer. And so we'll say 1 to 3 is the shield, 4 to, so they stole his warhammer. So that's the third item stolen. All right. His shield was stolen. Fourth item is going to come from 4. All right, so it's at least evenly distributed. So he has a shield, a mace. He's carrying both of those. So they're going to have to steal something from him. They're going to steal some gold from him. So he was carrying this other 4 gold pieces. So that's stolen. All right, so that's the 4th item. And the 5th, 3. All right, coming from the elf, and they are going to steal, if it's a weapon, his bow. And so they leave their thank you message, all right, that they have stolen those 5 items. But the way this works out is pretty interesting. So we'll come back to our map. And if you remember, there was the armory. And so the characters are going to hightail it back over there and search the armory for what they, for what they had lost. So they're not going to be able to replace their bandages, the gold, but they will replace the hammer, the shield, and the bow. And so they will get those back. Now, during their trip over there, I'm going to say that there's, a good chance that they encounter something in the corridor on the way back. This could be a random encounter check. So let's just see as they're passing through the corridor what they come across. So that's a 7. And they will encounter a 7 on this chart. They will encounter minions. All right, so that's a neat little thing. So we now have minions. We're going to go to the minions section, and we'll see. Minions table. So I'm going to roll a d6. And they rolled a 5. Wow. D3 trolls. Level 5. Wow. So this is going to be a nice fight. So let's see how many trolls. So I'll continue reading this. So they're level 5 trolls. So I'm going to write trolls. They're level 5. Normal treasure. They regenerate unless killed by a spell or unless a character uses one attack to chop an already killed troll to bits. If this does not happen, they roll a die for every killed troll on its next turn. On a 5 or 6, the troll will come back to life and continue. Halflings add, I don't have a halfling, reactions, so they'll fight. If a dwarf is present in the party, trolls will automatically fight to the death. All right, so there's no avoiding this. The dwarf has a +1 to defense versus trolls, and so he is going to be using his full ability here. So we'll see how many trolls there actually are. Wrong again. All right, so the trolls. And we'll say that they encountered the number of trolls back over here. We'll say they went to this armory, and as they were coming back, they ran into trolls here. So D3 trolls. So I didn't check to see if it said round up or round down. I'm just going to say that's 2. I'm going to round up. So there are 2 trolls. All right. Now minions, the reason why I didn't say how much damage they can take, 1 hit kills them. But remember, they have to be chopped up in order to keep them down, unless they're killed by fire. So we have 2 trolls, and they really have life points of 1 point each. So they only have to get hit once, and then they have to spend the round actually chopping them up. So my character, and they're in that crossway over here. So they're in this crossway right here. So the dwarf is going to attack. So the dwarf total has a plus. He has a total of a plus 2 with his two-handed weapon, a plus 3. He has plus 2, plus 3. Oh, he has additional against goblins, so he's just a plus 2. So, and they're a 5. So he needs a 5 or a 6 in order to hit and kill him. All right, so he actually rolled a 6. So because this is minions, you take any like extra attack and it will bleed over into the other. So he actually put both minions down with... I'm sorry, no, he didn't, because he certainly put one minion down. All right, so he killed the one minion, or at least knocked it down. His other wasn't enough to exceed its level as well. He would have had to have done 10 points in order to take them both out. So he did 8 points, so it wasn't enough to take the other down. And so the barbarian is going to attack. So he gets a plus 1, and he hit with a 5. So they are both down now. So both trolls are down, and now they have to spend the time in the next round chopping them up. Now, the elf has a sword, so the elf can actually begin this very round. The cleric does not. So the cleric is not going to be able to chop, but the elf will be able to chop one of them up during this round. And the troll has on a 5 or a 6 will rise again. He rolled a 3, so he did not. And they will dispatch the troll in that corridor there. So looking back, we take a look at the trolls, and as I read, trolls have normal treasure. All right, so normal treasure. And we go to the treasure table, and we roll a d6. I rolled a 1, d6 gold pieces. So 5 gold pieces. And so another 5 gold pieces. The dwarf must get 1, and then everybody else will split additional. And we go back to our map again. There we go. So now the characters are here. All right, we just killed, trolls. We killed an ogre. Now we're here. And they're going to go to the right this time. They're tired of shooting forward. So a 52. So what is to the right on a 52? A 52 is... All right, so a 52 is this kind of a shape here. All right, so it's kind of a never-ending dungeon. So 52 is going to go like this. If I'm coming in from this direction. Okay, and 52 is just an entrance into this room. So there's 2 doors here, one this way and one this way. And they enter right into this room. So I'm going to do a room check. Rolled an 8. An 8 is a minions table. So once again, we're back to, fighting minions. It's getting a little bit more streamlined here. So I rolled a 3. So hobgoblins, D6 hobgoblins. So hobgoblins are a minion. So now I'm going to write hobgoblins. They're level 4. There's D6 of them. I'm just going to roll that. Ooh, there's 6 of them. Times 6. There's no reason to do a reaction with hobgoblins in a party containing a dwarf, because a dwarf would never agree to paying a bribe. So they are not outnumbered, so they're not going to flee, and so they're either going to fight or potentially fight to the death. So we're not even going to negotiate with them. They're just going to, we're just going to attack. All right, so they are level 4. There's 6 of them. And so I say as the characters walk into the room, and I'll shift back to the view here. So we're in this room now. So as my characters are coming in, they walk in through this threshold, and there are 6 hobgoblins just hanging out. So my front 3, because as they filter out, my front 3 are going to, charge in to attack. And in this case, my elf is going to cast that sleep spell. All right, so this will be an interesting thing to view this as it happens. Spells, spells, spells. Spells. This spell works like an attack roll. If it does not affect undead dragons or certain other monsters, the wizard adds his level to the roll. Sleep will defeat 1 boss or D6 plus level minions if it hits. All right, so my elf is attacking. He gets a +1, or actually she gets a +1 for spell use, and so she needs to roll a 3 or more for this spell to hit, and then if it does hit, she will put to sleep D6 +1. Although I would think with being an elf, she might get +2. So I'm going to go with that. So needs at least a 3. Oh, awesome. All right, so she definitely put some of them to sleep, and then she put to sleep 5 of them. So we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 of them are asleep. And then my dwarf will attack. So he needs to roll a 4 or better. And he rolled a 5, which would become, for him, a 7. So he's definitely going to kill the one that he attacked. Now, they could be, pretty decent about this and not kill them all. They might even, decide to tie them up. All right, but they certainly did defeat them. So defeating them, we go to the table, and we roll on the treasure table once again. And we go to treasure table. That's kind of weird. All right, here we go. Treasure, treasure, treasure. And I've been to there like half a dozen times. When I'm flipping through, here we are. Treasure. 1. Another D6 gold. Roll 2 gold pieces this time. So 2 gold pieces. Oh, it's +1. I'm sorry, so it's a 2. 2d6 gold. Still only rolled 2. So pretty bad roll. So 2 gold pieces, 1 of which has to go to the dwarf. Okay. I'm going to check these 2 doors to see if either of them are locked. So one or the other. Let's see. So this one here is not locked. Neither is this one. So let's see what's going to go here. I'm curious to see how this is going to work out because we had this here and here. Hopefully they link. All right. So we are going to roll a D66. So I rolled a 46. I think I rolled that once before. So a 46. So 46 is here. And it's a door that goes into 2 sections of, and then a room that is 3 wide and 3 long. And 46 has a door on this end and a door here. So this other passageway, this has got to come to some kind of a dead end. There's only certain things that might fit into that. We'll see if the characters ever go back that direction. I could say that's a collapsed portion or something, but we got to check to see if this door is locked. And it is not. So now they're entering a room. And I rolled a 5. The 5 for the room is empty. Roll D6 on special feature. All right, so a D6 on the special feature chart. Special feature table. Rolling a D6, and I rolled a 2. It's a blessed temple. A character of your choice gains +1 to attack against undead monsters or demons. As soon as the character kills one undead or demon, the bonus disappears. So I'm going to give that plus to the cleric. Seems to be the most obvious. So the cleric is going to get a +1 to demons or undead. That's until he kills one. So that's pretty cool. And so here's a special feature. A special feature. That door we're going to check. And ooh, that door might actually be locked. So we are going to go to... We did retracing, splitting the party. Oh, see, I already forgot where I found this doors. Oh, it was in locked doors. Bashing a door. Roll a die with a character. Barbarians and warriors add their level. Roll the die to determine how sturdy the door is. 1 to 3, the door is a level 3. 4, 5, or 6, the door is a level 4. Or a 6 as rolled is published adventure. A door will always be level 3 if not otherwise specified. So I'm going to roll a d6. I rolled a 1. So the door is a level 3. So I don't have any means of lock-picking the door, so I'm going to just smash it. All right, so my dwarf is going to attack it, and he smashes open the door. All right, he's going to do enough damage to, he gets a +1 to the door as well. So overall, he did about 7 to a 3. So smashes open the door. And so now we check to see room type. 21. Ooh, end of... So here's 21. I hope it's a boss, let's say. So 21 is here. And it is quite simply... Oh, I just lost track of it. It's just this. 3 by 3 box. All right, so we at least came to a dead end. All right. So now we have a room. I rolled a 7, and a 7 is minions table again. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this just to show you, because I think you're getting the hang of this. So I'm going to make this a boss battle, and make this a final boss battle. So, yeah. So I'm going to make this a final boss battle just to wrap this thing up, because I think you get the idea, and it's running a lot smoother than it did the last time. So I'm going to go here and go to a boss table. Boss table, D6. I'm going to let this be whatever it is, so I'm not going to limit it. So I rolled a 4. So it's a Medusa. It has 4 life points. So this is, now remember, my mission is to subdue the Medusa. So this is going to be fun. All right. So the boss is a Medusa, and this is the final boss. Medusa it's a level 4. It has life points of 4. All right, it has a treasure of +1 on the treasure thing. All characters at the beginning of the battle must save versus a level 4 gaze attack or be turned to stone. Petrified characters are out of the game until a blessing is cast. Well, good, my cleric has that. Rogues add half their level, don't have a rogue. So we can bribe it with 66 gold. We could do a quest where she'd give us a quest. We could it could fight, or it would give us a quest. We could fight it, or we could fight it to the death. not going to challenge this thing like that. We're going to just fight it outright. So all characters at the beginning of the battle must save versus a level 4 gaze. So this is something I haven't boned up on. So save versus, here we go. In some cases, the rules instruct save versus a spell attack. The name of the attack is normally just described. It counts as a target number. Roll a d6, add the modifier as instructed. If the roll target number or better, nothing happens. If you roll the target number or better, nothing happens. So I need to roll a 4, 5, or 6. If you roll lower than the target number, you suffer the consequences indicated. This is often one loss of life or some lasting inconvenience, such as being turned to stone, drowning, or being an example. A character urge to save versus level 3, poison, or lose 1 life. A character rolls a 1 or 2 will lose 1 life point. Characters rolling a 3 or higher will be fine. So this might actually come down to, let's see, saving rolls may have modifiers. If general barbarians and halflings will have a bonus against things like poison, such as good health. Wizards will have a bonus against magic and mental attacks. Rogues and elves will have a bonus against things that can be dodged. Clerics have a bonus against undead, and so on. So no one will have a bonus against this roll. Saving rolls are based on damage. So wizards will have bonus against magic. I don't have a wizard though. So it looks like we're just doing a straight roll. So let's see how it turns out. So I need to roll a 4 or better. That's going to be, this could be devastating. So we shall see. A 4 or better. Oof. Tybor is still up. My barbarian. 3, no bonuses, he is stoned. My elf, she is stoned. I need this cleric to survive this. Ah, nope. So he is stoned. Okay. We're going to need the fighter to be able to handle, or the dwarf actually, to be able to handle this fight alone. So he is against a Medusa who's level 4. It shouldn't actually be that bad. He just has a whole bunch of so he's going to be at a +2. So he rolled 5. So he is going to do two points with that. The Medusa now attacks, and the Medusa has to hit him All right, so he has an armor of +2, so oh, he took no damage. He rolled high enough. He took no damage. So now what's his attack? Yeah, this actually might not be. So he rolled a 4. He just hit her for 1. She is going to, he rolls his defense. So I rolled a 4. That matches her level. So he took 1 point of damage. He's down to a 4. Oh, he's done more than half. So I have to see if she's going to try to flee. To find that where we read that running away from combat when monsters flee. No. Monsters, let's see. Ah, here it is. So roll a die. If the result is 3 or less, the monster flees. If it's a 4 or better, it continues attacking. So the monster is going to flee. The monster turns tail and flees. The monster disappears from the game. You may not loot its body. All right. If outnumbered, the monster will flee only if there are fewer monsters than party members. Otherwise, the monsters fight. Flee if outnumbered. The monster flee only if they are fewer monsters than the party. Well, they're 1-to-1. She might actually fight. Oof. And he hit her and killed her. So the dwarf killed her. And we get back here. Of course, he's not going to get, the mission objective of keeping the Medusa alive. Although maybe... No, I'm going to say, you know what? He killed her. Because he has three members that are turned to stone. And he is going to get the treasure for killing her. So we go to the treasure table. And I have to see if... So I'm over here now on the, going to the treasure table. So it's a +1 on the treasure table. Oh, loot. Let's see, loot. I just saw loot. All right, let's find the treasure tables. All right, so a +1 on this roll. And I rolled a 3. Ooh, a scroll with a random spell. well, there are 6 types of spells. So let's go to a scroll with a random spell. So there are 6 spells. Let's say this is spell number 1 in the spells section. So spells. Can you believe this? So the spell he got, and I roll, is a, this spell removes a curse from a character. A curse is a game effect explained as stepping away, blessing. Well, so he got a blessing spell, scroll. All right, and such as being turned to stone by a Medusa. So he is going to cast this spell on the cleric. So there are 6 basic spells. A spellcaster may attack a melee or cast, but not both. All right. Scrolls. It's a piece of parchment or other inscribed material ready to cast. Any character except barbarians may read a scroll at a cost of 1 action. Who is not spellcaster spell scrolls if they were level 1. All right. So casters who are not spellcasters cast spells from a scroll as if they were level 1, no matter what their actual level is. Spellcasters add their full level to the cast, even if the spell, clerics add their level to any blessing spells. When a scroll is found, roll. All right, roll it. So I did roll a blessing. All right, so there it is. Additional spells and scrolls. How do you determine if it's effective? Who are you checking it against? I guess I'm going to cast it against I think it only fails on a 1. If cast against a fellow first level character, it'll only fail on a 1. 6 definitely passed. All right, so he raised the cleric, and then the cleric has 3 blessings, and the cleric will unstone the other 2. As long as he doesn't roll one, he gets pluses to that. So everybody is up. What a fortuitous, lucky roll in getting that scroll. All right, but unfortunately they killed the dwarf was smart really in killing the Medusa and not messing around with trying to subdue it. So, as you can see, I mean, it really is a fun game, and as you become much more familiar with the various mechanics and everything, this will turn out to be a very much a smooth running solo player experience. So as you can see, the characters in this particular adventure, as opposed to the last one, had a much easier time, and that's because I had boned up on some of the rules. The more and more comfortable you get with running a game and learning its rules, you can't know them all in the very first time or even second time that you're running them. But as you're going along, as you pick up those rules and you become much more familiar with, not so much page flipping, but just knowing where various things are, it becomes much easier. One thing I'm going to do is, when using the book, instead of, just using the PDF, is this is where bookmarks come into play. And so I would actually go through this book and put a little sticky notes along the way, and that way I know, how to switch over to some of those harder to find, more specific rules that are in here, such as, unlocking doors or, breaking doors and spell effects and such. So once again, I hope you enjoyed the video. I thank you for, bearing with me as I, am learning this game and going through it. I strongly recommend that you consider buying the game, because it is a lot of fun, and this is the only thing you really need, plus two different colored dice and some graph paper, and even the graph paper, you don't have to use graph paper, but you know $11 game, and you can have quite a bit of fun playing with this, and it really doesn't take that much time to throw it all together. So once again, thank you for joining in. And, as always, if you haven't subscribed and you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. If you liked it, give it a like. If you, have any comments to leave, any suggestions, please feel free to leave a suggestion. If you're on Facebook, there's a great For Against Darkness, community over there, about 1,300 members or something like that. And they've been very helpful and welcoming. So it is a closed group. So if you just track it down and look for Against Darkness, you'll find them, and then you just apply to join, and they'll let you in, and then you can share some of these experiences. Look at what other people are saying about how the game runs. So once again, thank you. I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime in the upcoming week. Have a good day.